Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Record Rangers podcast, brought to you by NordVPN, the best place to get premium cyber security, and all for the price of just a cup of coffee per month. I'm pleased to say I am joined this week by Douglas Dickey, the Rangers supporter, giving us a fan's eye view. And how are you, Douglas? You well, mate?
Nerves are a bit shot, Andy, if I'm being honest, but I'm sure we'll come to that.
Yep. And I'm also pleased to say, joined by a very special guest this week, Greg Stewart, Rangers 2021 title winner. How are you, Greg?
Aye, great. Thanks. Good to be here. Good to get something done.
I believe you're on the road to recovery right now. You've had a bit of an injury. You've been up at Cove this season. How's the rehab coming from that injury you had?
I signed a 4-week deal at Cove as I was planning on going back abroad, but after my second game, I done my ACL, so it wasn't great. My first start, it was great. We put St Johnstone at the Scottish Cup.
Wow.
And then the second game was the total opposite. Stretchered off, ACL gone. So it's been a difficult few months, but we're getting there.
A lot of time sitting on the couch, a lot of time for you to watch Rangers. What have you made of this season so far? It's been a rollercoaster ride.
Oh, it's caused me grey hairs. My hair's falling out, all sorts here. But considering it was possibly one of the worst starts in our history of the league to where we are now, I would have bit your hand off for that. 6 games to go, a point behind, and all to play for. And I really feel that we're looking like the strongest team.
I mean, just the big news today coming out of the SPFL is the fixture list for the run-in. Just if I can just get them up, I'll run through them for the listeners. So obviously play Falkirk this weekend in the final pre-split fixtures, and then after the Scottish Cup semi-final weekend over I think that's the 17th and the 18th and the 19th, I believe, yep. And then so the Rangers will then kick off the post-split fixtures with a home game against Mullow on April the 26th. Then it's into a trip to Tynecastle to play the league leaders as it stands, Hearts, on May the 4th, 5:30 kick-off in the bank holiday Monday. I'm sure that will go down well with the punters and the police, maybe not. Then we go to the big one, the Old Firm game at the 10th of May at Celtic Park. Then there's a midweek game against Hibs, 8 o'clock kick-off on the 13th of May, and then it all comes down to the big decider. Hopefully on the 16th of May, Rangers heading back to Falkirk whilst Celtic and Hearts play off in a huge game at Celtic Park. I mean, what was your take on it? I mean, I see a lot of Hearts fans unhappy about the fact they're having to travel to Celtic Park, but I suppose from a Rangers point of view, if one of them had been knocked out of it by that point, does it offer an opportunity for somebody to lie down effectively? If you were to quote Record Sports' Chris Sutton from back in the day, can you see that sort of scenario playing out, Greg?
Look, I understand that you can't keep everybody happy. I think from a Rangers point of view, we knew we were having to play 3 away games after the split, but I'm almost wrapped up with the last game. I'm not going to lie. I'm sitting here confident, just by the way that we've been playing lately. I think we've been creating a lot of chances. I know we could be a lot more clinical, but we are creating chances, and we've kept quite a lot of clean sheets under Danny Rowe. So for me, I understand the fixtures. You can't keep everybody happy, but obviously I do feel for Hearts, because normally, as you say, when you go into the split, the team at the top normally get the last game at home. So I can see from their point of view that obviously going to Parkhead, it's one of the hardest fixtures of the season. So it is a bit of a strange one, but I'm just hoping it doesn't come to the last game. But as you say, you can't keep everybody happy.
I mean, these games, Douglas, I mean, as Greg said there, I mean, to even be talking about Rangers in a title race, if you look back to when Danny Rowe first walked in the door back in October, it would be seen fanciful. So the fact that you're sitting here, okay, tough trips to Tynecastle, a tough trip to Celtic Park, but if Rangers are going to win the league, they're going to have to go to these kind of places and get results, aren't they?
And yeah, I kind of feel like, even though it's great to be speaking like this, I think I've said before, now we're here, to not push on and win it would be really so disappointing. Just a point behind Hearts, two ahead against Celtic. I can't really shake this feeling that Celtic are favourites now. I just feel like with 4 games at Parkhead, I fancied them to drop points on Sunday. The fact they didn't, it keeps them within a game of Hearts, within a game of us. They've got those, they play Hearts at Celtic Park that last game. I think that's an admission for the SPFL that they think Celtic's going to win the league. I can't think of any other reason why they would have done that. I personally thought they were going to send us to Tynecastle on the last day. I don't have a major issue with our fixtures, apart from obviously a bank holiday Monday, which isn't really a tradition in Scotland. It's much more of a thing down south. I could be wrong.
I think judging by the press release that they sent out, I think they're trying to wrap this into a sort of bank holiday, super Monday, if you want to call that, with games down south. And I think they're looking at this 5:30 game as being the sort of cherry on top to that.
I could be wrong, but I think the last time Rangers played a daytime game on a Monday bank holiday was when we blew the chance of winning 9 in a row at Ibrox against Motherwell, which is maybe a bit before your time, Andy and Greg.
I can remember it, yeah.
I can certainly remember it. We did get the job done eventually, of course, but obviously really tough. They're all going to be tough games. Motherwell have kind of hit a patchy form, probably at the wrong time for us. We'd have maybe quite liked Motherwell, the fact that Hearts and Celtic have to go to Fir Park after the split. Would have liked them going there against a Motherwell team that's flying. They've just fallen off the radar a bit, but those are the 2 big games. I think if we can go to Tynecastle and Celtic Park and remain unbeaten, we'll be in a really, really good position. But again, we've never won at Parkhead after the split. We've not won at Parkhead in the last Old Firm game for 27 years. I don't think we've won 3 games in a row at Parkhead since the 1960s. But these
they're all there to be broke.
Are all there to be broken. Hi, and I'm a bit of a stats nerd at times until the stat tells me something that I do want to see. And right now, it's telling me that Rangers are going to win the league, but that just makes me even more nervous. And I just feel that, it's going to be so tense. Those drop points against Livingston and Celtic are really stinging right now, especially. But look, we've got as good a chance as any. We've just got to strap ourselves in for the ride, because I think there's going to be a few, I think there's a few twists to come yet.
Greg, obviously saying they are Celtic are favourites, but who do you think the pressure's on most? Is it Hearts being the team that have been on top for so long? Is it Celtic being the champions, or is it Rangers who've sort of, from nowhere sort of clawed themselves back into it, and to let it go now, having, done so much, worked so hard to repair the damage that they did at the start of the season? Who do you think the pressure's on?
I think the pressure is on Rangers and Celtic still, just because I think Hearts are still in a place where they didn't think they would be. I know they were so many points ahead, but at the end of the day, there is 38 games in a season. You know what I mean? You don't win the league after when you've still got this long to go. But the pressure is on Rangers and Celtic. Obviously, Rangers having such a bad start to putting themselves into the position they're in now, where Danny Rowe could end up being his own, how do I say it? If he doesn't win the league now because of the position he's got himself in, it could be his own downfall, really, because he's done so well to get to here. And for me, I think we're favourites.
Yeah. Is there a danger it ends up looking like a failure if having worked so hard to get them back in, or is that harsh given everything he's had to deal with, the squad, the changes, even the backroom stuff with sporting directors leaving, Kevin Thelwell leaving, things like that? No,
looking across the board, it would be harsh to criticise him because of the position he's got us in now. But at the end of the day, you're Rangers manager. You're gonna. That's what you're there for, to win games of football. But to come this far and then fall short, it would feel like a disappointment. It would. But even though when you look at it across the board, he's done an unbelievable job.
It'd be much easier to take if we had a Scottish Cup semi-final to look forward to in a couple of weeks. I think that's piled pressure on him to not win that quarter-final when really we should have against a really poor Celtic team. That's kind of piled additional pressure on him. I think that now the league's all we've got, and we are favourites according to the bookies, according to the the analytics, if you like. So if we weren't to push on, it would be very, very disappointing. But we've got such a tough run in now, 4 games away from home, all against the top 6. We've not beat a top 6 team away from home since New Year at Celtic Park. So, I mean, it's it's going to be. I honestly don't know how my nerves are going to handle it.
I mean, I've read. I think all 3 title contenders that their away form has been really poor of late. But Rangers seem to be picking up, as we say. Just to go back to Saturday, then I missed the game, but you were there, Douglas. I don't know, Greg, if you managed to see it.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Ryan Adire, first we want to talk about him and his impact in the team. He's come in. I think he's had to sacrifice himself an awful lot. I think, obviously, with Yusuf Chermiti being the main man up front, Danny Rose asked Ryan Adire to do a lot more work outside the box and to be that selfless runner for him. I think we saw at the weekend that he was obviously given his chance to lead the line. I mean, what did you make of him as a sort of the target man, as a number 9 up front?
I generally thought that was probably his best half since he's came to Rangers. I don't know if that's because Chermiti wasn't there and he had to drift into places that he didn't need to. But I feel like Chermiti does drift just naturally, where I feel Nadiri's probably, he would be a striker that's in the box normally. So I think he excelled without Chermiti being there. I honestly thought it was his best first half. Delighted that he got the goal. He followed it in. I think the goalkeeper makes a mistake, but I don't know what happened. Is he injured?
Yeah, he got a knock apparently, so they don't seem to think it's too bad. But it's obviously something that's you're adding it to the 2 Romans knock, which was obviously a big blow before the game. It's not what they need right now. I mean, Rangers, you've got to say, Douglas, they've not compared to seasons gone by. This has been probably one of the better years in terms of how many injuries they've had. It's not been the sort of pile up that they've had in recent years. But to lose Nadiri, having lost Romans, for a couple of weeks, that would be significant, wouldn't it?
And I think you've seen the difference with Romans not being there. United definitely targeted that kind of left back area. McComa's done okay, but I've kind of said in this show before, I don't really think he's good enough to be Rangers fullback going forward. Seems weird that Rangers always seem to be so dependent on our fullbacks. We've been dependent for years on Tav on one side, and now we've got two Romans on the other, who's so far been a really, really good signing. I agree with Greg. I thought Nadiri had a really good first half. I've asked for more goal threat from him, and you can't argue with his that striker's instinct for that first goal. But overall, on Saturday again, there was that real feeling of nervousness. When United get back in the game twice, you could kind of feel it through. So it was good that the team were able to kind of handle that. Again, there's been a few times this has happened against Hearts, even against Aberdeen when we conceded the goal. You can feel it kind of coming from the stands, and I thought we kind of held up to it quite well. And I thought we did look fit. For the first time this season, I thought we looked like a really fit team. And that maybe bodes well at this stage of the season as well. Celtic, I know, have carried a lot of injuries, and Hearts have had injuries of late, although they've got guys coming back. But the 3 new signings, I think, have made a real impact. So to lose 2 of them, 3 permanent signings, obviously the loan signing, I think we're going to come to, it's been a wee bit more disappointing. But to lose 2 of them at this stage would just be a real blow. And Romans, for me, cannot come back quick enough, because the difference between him and Mike-Homa on that left-hand side, I think, is night and day. I don't mean that as a slight on Mike-Homa. He's younger than Romans. He's got developing to do. But I think you've seen a difference on Saturday, and United definitely look to exploit that.
I think Romans is a massive miss. I hope he's not out long, because when you watch his second goal back, the ball's on the other side of the pitch for Magoma, but Magoma's actually right on the winger. Yeah. He's on the winger. See if Magoma's in beside his centre half, the pass can't go inside him. The pass has to go outside him, and it gives Magoma a chance to defend it. Whereas when the attacker gets inside you, that's a fullback's nightmare, isn't it? That's where they don't want to pass. You always get taught that. Make sure they can try and pass it outside of you. I know he's young. He's got a lot to learn to do. There's a lot of potential there as well. I'm not going to lie, but I feel like that is definitely a position that if it was one, I wouldn't want Romans to be out too long.
Greg, I was just going to ask you, it's just interesting what Douglas said there. It's something I've banged on about quite a lot this season. It's the Ibrox anxiety and how the way that the crowd and the tension that they feel can affect this team. Obviously, a lot of people, maybe people from across the city, seem to suggest that the reason why your team were able to win the league 5 years ago was because you didn't have that influence of the crowd on you, and that made a difference that year. I mean, I just wonder, from your point of view, being a player who's experienced it, who's seen maybe Ibrox obviously at its best, big European nights, Old Firm games when the place lifts you. But I can remember just before COVID struck, that night against Hamilton when everything went wrong and the place can be pretty toxic. It can get an angry place. How did you, as a player, feel that the crowd influenced the team, or is it something that just comes down to the individual? You have to be the sort of strong mentally enough to cope with that.
I do find it baffling when a football player does say like they would prefer without no fans. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's why you play football, for to have that atmosphere, to play in front of those atmospheres, that backing that you get.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not many teams in the world that's got the backing when you're doing well than Rangers. So, but then again, on the other hand, you can see why people do say that. He's only won it because there was no fans.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've only won one league in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So I can see why people say that as well. But I think
was there occasions where the crowd, you can see players around you maybe going into their shell a wee bit because they don't want to risk a bad pass, or they don't want to risk something that's going to get them booed or jeered? I mean, have you seen that? Maybe not in Rangers, but other clubs. Is it something that
when I'm playing it's something that I don't really think about, to be honest. You're that focused on the match and what your job is without the ball and with the ball, that it's something I've never really thought of too much, really. At the end of the day, you're going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter who you play for. Obviously, when you play for Rangers and other big clubs, it can feel like that when you do make a bad pass in the crowd, or if you're losing 1-0 and then the wee bit of anxiety can kick in. I can understand that. There is a lot of young players at Rangers as well, you know what I mean, that's never had that pressure before. But as you say, like it's like when we had the season after COVID, Gerrard, I think Gerrard, if he had stayed, would have won the league.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for people to say, oh, you win the league because there's no fans, fair enough, but it's not something that I don't think it would have changed because our team was that good. I don't think anybody would have touched us that season, and it just showed that anyway. There's an element
of chicken and egg to it as well, Andy. Part of the reason the crowd are nervous is because the team keep conceding really stupid goals and we're 2-0 up, right? So, you know, we've seen this movie many times, and Greg points out we've only won one league title in 15 years. That's almost a generation of Rangers fans who've never really been in a title race. You know, it's been a long time, and people are nervous because we've got a great opportunity here, a wonderful opportunity. You know, no one was nervous at 2-0. Let me tell you, the place was jumping. You know, but at 2-1 at half time, it's different. I'm not going to lie. I'm a total flake this season, right? I went to the toilet after United made it 3-2, and I had to stop myself leaving the ground, just not out of disgust, but out of nerves, you know. And there's been games this season that I've had to watch on TV that I've had to turn off with 5 minutes to go because I'm just so like, oh God, I just can't.
Well, did you see the boy hitting the post, Douglas?
I did. I did go back, Greg. To be fair, I did decide to stuff it out.
That goes down there. I think that's our fault as well, because you look at the chances we've got to just go and kill the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, if we can just be that bit more clinical. The worrying thing is, I would be more worried if we weren't creating chances.
Yeah.
For example, the Scottish Cup game against Celtic, we dominated the game, but we didn't look like scoring. Whereas I think in the league now, we are creating chances. I just be that more clinical. You know what I mean? That number 9 should be getting 20 goals plus a season for our Rangers.
That brings me on to Yusuf Chermiti. We're going to discuss him. I mean, we've spoken about him at length this season. You know, this big game hunter that he is. But you know, in the other games, he just seems to sort of shrink. I mean, he comes on at half time. He does well. His link up play was great, but at the end of the day, as a number 9, yourself, Greg. You're judged on what you do in terms of how you put the ball in the net. And he's had 3 big chances, especially that one-on-one where he just needs to clip it over the keeper. I mean, it's a conundrum, is it? Because you look at Bojan Miovski, who for me is probably the club's best finisher, but he just goes through spells of games where you don't really notice him. He doesn't impose himself on the run of play. But if you put the ball in front of him, he'll score. Whereas Chermiti is probably more useful to teams in terms of getting you up the pitch, but you're just never quite sure what you're going to get from him in front of goals.
I do believe that his general play is very good. He is a real team player. You can see that. But as you say, for me, I do think you don't even have to be that good to get 20 goals a season at Rangers with the chances that you get. But there is bags of potential there. You can see that. And if that just clicks together one day, he could be a top striker, because he has got all-round game to be a really top striker. He's quick, he's strong, great touch, can see a pass, good right foot. So that there is potential there. But as you say, it's just frustrating because we can all see that. Mm-hmm. We can all see the potential he's there. It's just frustrating that he misses the easy ones. And it won't score ridiculous ones.
Is there a wee bit of the Morelos in him? I mean, you played alongside the Buffalo. He was a guy that if you give him too long to think, that's when it would fall apart. If he just played off the cuff, if he played instinctive, then you'd usually find him.
Chermiti's a lot better technically than Alfredo. Mm-hmm. But Alfredo plays with that fire in the belly, you know what I mean? Yeah. I love that, the fire in the belly. That's when he's at his best. When he's on that edge, obviously, he could go over that edge quite a few times. And Alfredo, he was probably top 5 strikers in Europe at one point. Mm-hmm. But technically, he wasn't great in training, finishing in that. And then they would go, when it comes to a game day, he's just a different animal.
I saw Steven Gerrard speaking this week about Morelos and just how he would have to give him that. He would give him that wiggle room. How was that for you guys when you see him sort of maybe overstep the line with a couple of things, and then he's maybe getting away with murder as he speak? Where you guys, I remember you speaking before about things like your weight with Gerrard, and he was right on you. I mean, how did the boys feel when he's getting away with murder and you're getting pulled up for having a Mars bar or something?
But Alfredo was bigger than us all, but he was still playing. But if there was a few years it was just a wee bit overweight, we would get dropped. But that's just the way it goes. You know what I mean? When you're as good as him in his position, you do get a little bit of leeway, and that's just the way it goes.
Can I just ask? I mean, Douglas, I'll go to you with this one. Skov Olsen again comes off early. So much hope, so much hype around him coming in. And you're thinking, if he's going to convince the club to spend this £8 million that it's going to take to make it a permanent deal, you would think he would have ignited by now. That spark would have showed. But apart from one or two brief moments, obviously has a hand in the goal, the second goal, but just another really underwhelming performance.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly got talent, Skov Olsen. I hoped he would be a game changer bringing him in. If I'm being honest, I really was very excited. He's technically very good. His movement's all right, but he looks like he's playing within himself. He looks a bit rabbit in the headlights at times. A lot of backward passes. Doesn't really try anything. I'd hoped he would maybe kick on after the international break. He did have a hand in the second goal, I think it was. But I mean, you look at somebody like Theo Asgard, who had a bit of a weird game, in the sense that he was generally awful, but he scored the goal and made 2 goals. So he's an impact player. He's a guy that makes a difference, and you can get away with it sometimes if you've got those moments. I always thought Hadji was a bit like that. Hadji could kind of coast through games, and then bang, you give him a split second, and he would make a difference. Skov Olsen isn't even really doing that. There's not even moments in the game where you look at him and think, right, okay, that's why he's so highly thought of. That's why teams are maybe willing to spend £8 million on him. And it's been, I mean, actually, I had really high hopes for him, but now it's a case of, you look at the way somebody like Mikey Moore's come in, a younger player, probably much harder for him, and he's just excelled in that pressure, and it looks a bit like Skov Olsen's wilted a little, which is surprising because he's played for big clubs and he's played for clubs who are going for titles every year. I really thought he'd be a leader. Probably not a good idea to say the new Loudrup. You know, when he first signed, that was getting kind of thing made about. No one's going to be as good as that, I don't think. But yeah, I don't think there's any chance we'll be signing him in summer at all, and I can't say I'd be disappointed now.
Greg, you're taking him?
Aye, honest, he's not the player I thought he was. I'm just trying to think of what he actually brings to the table. It's like when a winger comes in for that price, you're thinking, right, he must have a trick, he must be quick, getting at people, those unselfish runs in behind to create space for somebody else. Set pieces as well. Like, I thought, I'm struggling to think what he brings to the table. I know he's had a couple of assists, but for that sort of money, you know what I mean, you're expecting a game changer, really, aren't you?
And we can't afford passengers at this stage either. We just cannot afford guys who are not contributing.
I thought every time he got the ball on Saturday, he passed it backwards.
Safe.
Every single time. Just every time was pass it backwards. Just get it and pass it backwards. It's not even like pass it backwards and run behind or run somewhere else. It's really strange because, as you say, I was really optimistic when we got him. I was like, this could be the one that's actually going to get us over the line. But it's been such underwhelming performances from him.
Well, I remember speaking to some Belgian journalists about his time in Bruges before he signed, and a couple of them said the same thing, that he's a guy that when he's invested, when he's emotionally invested, when he's up for it, he's unstoppable. But he does have this sort of thing where he can fall out of love with the game a wee bit and he can become disinterested. And you've got to say that's kind of looking where he's at right now and thinking if he can't come in here with a cut and thrust at a title race with big games against Celtic to come, big games against Hearts to come, that if that doesn't get your juices flowing, then nothing really will it? Yeah, I mean, it just seems to me like a guy who just can't get himself going. Greg?
It just looks like a lack of confidence for some reason. I don't understand. You know what I mean? He's playing a team that's not lost a game since the 21st of December. And the manager has showed a bit of trust in him as well. As in, when he's played bad, then he'll play again. You know what I mean? I wish I could have got that under Stevie G. I played all right and still got dropped. I agree with Douglas, really. It's been like when you see that player being linked to the club and then you actually get him and then you're like, here we go. This could be the game changer that we need. Because we kind of have always struggled really on the right side for years until Czerny really kicked on after he struggled at the first few months when he came, and then by the end I was desperate to sign him. I don't know why we didn't sign him if we could have, because that was a no-brainer for me. But yeah, he's scored. I'm struggling, but I hope there's still 6 games to go. I hope he can still bring a bit of magic for somewhere, because he must have something. There must be something there. As you say, the players that the teams that he's played for, and I think he's had like 50 caps for Denmark, who are not a bad international team.
Just looking ahead then to the weekend, I mean, we've spoken about the fixtures coming up. Obviously, Falkirk, as we said the last time we were there, would prove to be the last game for Russell Martin in charge. I mean, it's another tricky one. I mean, again, plastic pitches, which I just hate them. I can't wait to get rid of them. I don't know, you having played the Kilmarnock, probably had your best stuff, your best spells on those pitches, Greg. Maybe you've a different feeling to me, but John McGlynn has got to be up there with candidate for manager of the year. I mean, what his team have done this season has been nothing short of remarkable. Aye,
they've done very well. I actually tipped them to go down at the start of the season, so I can have humble pie on my face for that one, because I've been a brilliant
it's a bit
team.
Worrying you're tipping Rangers to win the league then, Greg.
I know. I was just thinking that. I'm maybe better not saying this out loud. But no, Falkirk have been a breath of fresh air this season. John McGlynn's done an unbelievable job. The way they try and play as well, it's really refreshing to see. And it does benefit you when you train on. Me being at Kilmarnock, it does benefit you. You train on it every single day. It does. So it's going to be a tricky game for us. But just the way we're playing now, I feel like we are dominating most games, but I just feel like that we're in a good place. Even with Danny Rowe changing the team, I think he surprised a few years with the team he picked at the weekend against Dundee United. 3 of the back 4 didn't play the last game. Obviously, Romans was injured, but Tav and Fernandes was a bit of a surprise. So going to Falkirk, you expect Rangers to win, and if we turn up and play the way we can play, I think we will.
Just finally, just to end, Greg, it occurred to me that obviously there's similarities with obviously Rangers winning a title in the COVID season and not having that ability to celebrate with the fans inside the stadium. Obviously, we all remember the scenes outside, but you look at it in Liverpool, who had something similar around the same time, but then last year, obviously, they get that title again and they have that opportunity to finally celebrate with their fans inside Anfield. I mean, for you, looking back in those incredible scenes that day, was it just amazing anyway because it was you've been part of a title-winning team, or did it felt like it was, there was something missing from it because you didn't have that
at the time? At the time, it was amazing at the time. But when I look back now, it's obviously to have the full stadium, your family, your friends, all in that one stadium, and just getting to celebrate together. It would just be. It would definitely beat obviously how we won it and how we celebrated it. That is for sure. That is something I do think about. Just if they fans were in that stadium that day. So we've got the chance to put that right again in the next 2 months, 6, 7 weeks, whatever it is. There's a chance to go and do that again, and obviously not just the celebrations. Obviously, I think if we finish first, we go straight into the Champions League because Olympiacos, did I see that?
Yeah.
I think they had a wee setback at the weekend as well. So there's so much for us. There's so much for us if we can win this league. Obviously the celebrations and that, but as a club and that money that you need to go and kick on again, it's absolutely massive these next 6-7 weeks.
So one memory from that night in the dressing room with Stevie G and the rest of the players that sticks out for you?
The whole staff, like the whole staff, that like the training staff, the cooks, the chefs, the waitresses, they were all doing belly slides in the middle of the changing room, mate. It was amazing, honestly. It was unbelievable. The gaffer, all the coaching staff. That was right after the game, but I can't really mind much after that. I just mind if being out for about 3 days.
Well, we'll hopefully see you sliding down Edmondson Drive come the end of the season, so we'll make sure we get the camera crew out for that. We thank you for joining us. It's been very good to have you on, Greg. Douglas as well. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks very much.
That's us wrapped up for another week. Thanks again to our sponsors, NordVPN. You'll be able to listen to this episode and many others on YouTube, the Apple Podcast app and Spotify. So please like and review it, as that helps us to spread the pod far and wide. So you can also keep up to date with all the latest news coming out of Ibrox at dailyrecord.co.uk as well as in the paper. So myself, Greg and Douglas, we thank you for tuning in and we will see you next time.
Cheers.